Good afternoon and welcome back to My Harlem Portraits, the show that aims at shedding light on the fundamental contribution of African Americans to the building of this country and on Black excellence. Today we have a very, very, very special guest. She is the epitome of Black excellence. This young lady is Leah Hawkins. Thank you for being here at My Harlem Portraits. She is a magnificent young soprano who is starring in X, The Life and Times of Malcolm X, which is opening on November 3rd at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. Welcome to My Harlem Portraits.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Congratulations for this. Thank you. And tell me, how did you get here? Because you're so young. And what was your parkour? Tell me a little bit about that.
So how I got to this point in my career. So I've always been the singer in my family. I have never had a job outside of singing. And so, yeah, so when I was in the 6th grade, my family, or rather my school, took me to see an opera. It was Carmen at Opera Philadelphia. I remember very well, because I remember I hated the story, but I loved the music. I loved the costumes. I loved the lights, all of that. So I went home to my family and I said, I need to learn how to do that. That was so cool. I need to do that. And so my parents, who are not musicians, said, well, then you need voice lessons. Because if you want to learn how to sing like that, you need voice lessons. So from the time I was 12, I started voice lessons. And then I went to a high school for performing arts. And then I went to undergraduate school for music, then graduate school for music. And then I did the residency program at Washington National Opera first. And then I did the residency program for young singers at the Metropolitan Opera.
Oh,
and yeah, and I finished that 3 years ago. So I've been freelancing since then. But that's the short of it. Yeah.
And when did you start the residency at the Metropolitan Opera?
I did that program from 2018 to 2020, like right as COVID started is when I finished the program.
Wonderful. Oh my God, that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Fantastic career.
Yeah.
So I have to tell a story to my audience before we go on, because it shows how graceful and humble you are. We met 2 days ago, Sunday, at the marathon reading of the autobiography of Malcolm X, which was held at the Metropolitan. And Ilyasa Shabazz, Malcolm X's daughter and his friend, she introduced me to you. You were so gracious immediately when I asked, oh my God, I would like to interview you. You immediately said yes. You didn't shuffle me off to a publicist or this or that. You said yes. And this is very unusual. So I'm telling this story because this shows that you are yourself.
Well, I think that's important. I think what people want from artists now are real people. We don't want to see people sort of high above us, because we're not. We're human beings. We're all human. We breathe the same air. So just because I've done XYZ, who cares about that? We're human beings. We are the same.
Yes. And it shows your aura and everything that comes out on you is just true, real yourself. So
thank you for saying that.
In 2019, you were listed, and I'm quoting, among the top 10 rising opera stars that stand out from the rest with their youthful and raw qualities, with a dash of that special sauce that hints at future stardom. Wow. And now, opposite baritone Will Lieberman, who was a triumph in Fire Shut Up in My Bones, where you also played.
No, I wasn't in it. I wasn't in Fire.
You were not in there. Okay.
I understudied the lead soprano for that, but I wasn't in it.
That's what I read then.
Mm-hmm.
And you are opposite him, who plays Malcolm X, but you are going to play not one role, you're playing two roles. You're playing a fundamental role, Louise, the mother of young Malcolm Little, as his name was, and the iconic Dr. Betty Shabazz, Malcolm X's wife. How challenging is that?
Very challenging. Thankfully, with Dr. Shabazz, there are lots of videos of her online, so I can reference those. But those don't give you who she really was, you know? And so thankfully, I got to meet her daughter, also Dr. Shabazz, on Sunday, because I asked her, I was like, what is it about your mother that I need to know so that I can portray her correctly? And she really gave me some beautiful nuggets. But I'm so grateful for technology, and I'm grateful for that event, that reading that allowed me to meet her and sort of connect the dots about her. And then with Louise, that's even harder because you can only read about her. Of course, there's no footage of her. And even Malcolm in his book doesn't have very much information about her. No. So it's really hard. So I'm having to, and when you get to her in the opera, there isn't a lot of, you don't see all of her. You see her as she's unraveling, as she's going insane, because she did end up going insane and being in a facility for like 25 plus years. But when you enter in the opera, all you see is her unraveling. So all I can hope is that I'm giving her the dignity that she very much had. She was an educated woman, highly educated woman. So I'm hoping that I portray that well.
Dr. Shabazz, Ilyasa, he has written many books about his father and his family, books for children that might help you to find something about Louise.
Yeah.
While you were saying that, I just thought about it, because she has many, many books about the family and his father. And when he was little, Malcolm Little, one book is called actually Malcolm Little, and it's a children book. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll look for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The opera is by Pulitzer Prize-winning composer Anthony Davis. The libretto is by Tulani Davis, and the story is by Christopher Davis. It's a family affair.
It
is. The conductor is Kazim Abdullah, and the production is by Robert O'Hara. How does that feel to be surrounded by all this talent who is not at the same age as you are? They are, a generation before you. How does that feel?
Oh, it's so affirming and so cool, because they don't treat me like a young singer or a young person. They treat me like a colleague, which is such a nice feeling, and because I'm looking at them because I am absolutely learning from them, but also they are learning from me as well. So there's an exchange happening that's beautiful. It's also very cool to be in the room with these men who are making history. Anthony Davis is only the second Black composer at the Metropolitan Opera ever in its history. Robert O'Hara is one of very few directors to ever direct at the Metropolitan Opera. To have a whole family involved in the story of an opera, like that is just so cool. And it's very humbling to be around, to be honest. Yeah.
And when you're saying he's the first composer ever, he is also, this, I didn't know, but this opera is not the first time that it's been done.
Recently in Detroit, yes, Omaha, and Boston. I didn't do it in any of those cities, but I got to see it. I did go to see it in Detroit, and it was a hit in Detroit, actually. It was the first time that Detroit Opera had a sold out show in 10 years. That's the impact of this piece, This
piece, as you were saying before, it was done is the first composer here, but he had this opera, The Life of Malcolm X, had its world premiere in New York City in 1986.
Yes.
I had no idea. And already then it was a groundbreaking piece because it had an all-Black team of creators. It related to recent history in very realistic terms. And it told the life and story of an iconic figure, but who also gave his life, had to give his life for his convictions and for speaking truth to power.
Yes.
So it was a very powerful story, and he opened the door to many works which came after that brought current issues to the stage, the opera stage.
Yes.
How different is it for you to perform in a classical opera like, I don't know, Verdi or Puccini, and in something like this?
Well, for one, the language, I am an American, and so getting to sing, and my first tongue is English, so getting to sing in my mother tongue it's a huge difference, you know? Because as a singer, we study first, an opera singer, we study Italian first. That's the first language. And then if you sing in like churches, you're singing Latin and other Latin-based languages. So to get to return to my mother tongue is very special. And a lot of Americans actually have a sort of thing against singing in English because we're sort of taught that it's bad or it's ugly. And so it's like, no, actually, no, I want to make it beautiful. And like, why couldn't it be beautiful? Why can't it be beautiful? So there's that element. And then musically, it's so unlike any of the Verdi, Puccini romantic music that I sing. It's worlds apart. It's challenging. I won't lie. This is the hardest thing I've ever learned and sung. Because musically, rhythmically, it's challenging, and it's Anthony. He really knows how to create an atmosphere in his score, and it's tough, but it really works, and it's really effective.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. And I don't understand why they say it's not good in English, because we have opera in German. So, why not English?
Exactly. It's all beautiful. It all can be beautiful. It's just that we have somehow this idea that it's not, and it's wrong.
Because it's modern, and I mean, the reason why it was in Italian, most opera were in Italian, is because it was most Italian composers they were doing. Exactly. It's not that it has to be in that language. It's just the way it was. So opera is becoming modern.
Yes, opera has evolved over the years, as everything, as every art form should. It should evolve. Yeah.
And I believe that in this way, more people will go to the opera, because especially in other countries outside of Italy, it's not so easy to understand. I mean, I'm Italian, and I can tell you, when I go to the opera, I don't understand what they're saying. No. And I've been immersed in opera all my life because my father was a lover of opera. He was going, when I was a kid, he would go in the Piccionaia, as we call it, which is the last place up there. And he would go to the opera every day because he worked near where the Scala is in Milano. So that's how he spent his little money to go to the opera.
Oh, I love that. But that's beautiful. Yes. He was drawn to it. And I'm sure some of the draw was it being in Italian. That was some of the, what drew him to it. I have family who's never come to see me sing any opera who are coming to this because it's about Malcolm X and because it's in English. They're drawn to that. And I get it.
Yes. It's beautiful. And I heard you singing. I looked at different videos. Oh my God. Your voice is breathtaking.
Oh, thank you.
You have a warmth in your voice that is like honey.
Oh.
It's fantastic.
Thank you.
You're absolutely amazing. So tell me a little bit about this residency that you did in the Metropolitan Opera, because you played other operas. This is not your first opera at the Metropolitan. You played Musetta?
Yes.
Right? And then, see, here it says, you perform Fire Shut Up in My Bones. That is not true.
I was understudying.
Okay, see? And Porgy and Bess. Yes, Porgy and Bess. So
yes.
tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, that must be a different world to get into.
Yeah. So this residency program is for young emerging singers, and it's to give them the training necessary to propel them to the next level. So you're getting your voice lessons, your coachings, they're giving you recitals and other performances, but also they give you small roles to sing on the Metropolitan Opera stage. Wow. So in my first season, which was 2018, I made my Met debut in a very small role in Suor Angelica. I was one of the nuns, and I came out with a donkey. I made my Met debut with a donkey as a nun. But I got to do that. I got to do another small role in Queen of Spades, which is in Russian. Got to sing in Russian on the Met stage. Also sang the High Priestess in Aida, another small role. And then Porgy and Bess, which was really like it propelled me forward. I sang the Strawberry Woman, which is a 1.5 minute, 2-minute role. And you can really improvise on that part. And I was like, well, this is my 2-minute chance to shine. And I really used it. And I gained a lot of notice doing that role. So you do small stuff, but you can really make an impact in those things.
Fundamental, because you can make an impact with the voice you have. That's why you impact.
Yeah.
That's why it's enough 2 minutes for you to make an impact. If you feel like singing something for us, I will not object. Right? Tell me more about this. Tell me more about, for example, the most rewarding moment in your career before or during the Met, and the most difficult ones, the most challenging ones.
Oh, wow. Most rewarding, I would say, at the Met for me was when I sang for the memorial for Jessie Norman. When Jessie Norman died, the Met did a memorial for her. This was in 2019. And I remember they asked me if I would sing 2 spirituals with the chorus and another soloist. We were the soloists for that. And it was the most moving thing I've ever done, because she was one of my heroes. She's one of the singers who made me want to sing opera. So getting to celebrate her that way, I will never forget that feeling. I remember leaving the stage, I boohoo cried. Like, as I left the stage, I had to run to my dressing room and just go cry before I could talk to anyone, because of what it meant to me. I will never forget that feeling. And then meeting her family and them telling me, you remind me of her. And just like, you don't forget. That will never leave me. God, I hope it never leaves me. No. And then prior to that, I actually got to sing at the White House for a state dinner. Yes, I was a soloist at the White House for a state dinner. Unfortunately, it was for the wrong president, but I did wrong president. But I did get to meet the president of France and sing for the president of France, and in French, which was very cool. And that's something that was a bucket list item as a young singer, a young person. It's like, I want to sing at the White House, and I got to do that pretty early on. And then sort of negative, or not negative, just a learning experience was actually this summer. I was singing at Santa Fe Opera, and I was doing a Tosca there. It's my first big run of Tosca. And it was an updated production, which most people hated. Lots of changes to some of the elements of the story that people are just not happy about. Of course, then Santa Fe is 7,000 feet elevation. It's harder to breathe there. It's an outdoor theater. So there was a lot of things that made it difficult, and it wasn't a terrible experience, but for me it was a learning experience, because it wasn't, everything is not going to be positive. It's not going to feel like roses and daisies, and it's not going to be, I was not happy because of a lot of different reasons, and it was like I was getting this beautiful experience and I felt so ungrateful because I wasn't happy, you know. It's like, how dare I not be happy, and I'm getting to see Tosca at this major, you know, summer festival. But it just wasn't, it wasn't exactly the experience that I maybe wanted, but I'm grateful for it, because now I know how to proceed when I am in a production that is maybe people don't like. When I am singing at 7,000 feet again, I'll know how to go into those situations and how to handle myself.
Yeah, that's very important, to learn from your experiences. So that's why there is never really a bad experience. It's only experiences that, as you said, it wasn't what you expected, but you learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
It's always good.
Yeah.
It's always good. And your most important moment before coming to the Met, when you were learning?
Oh, learning,
or when you started opera, but before you came to this residency at the Met, what do you think could have been your turning point? What made you become the one that went to the Met?
You know, funny enough, because I've always been singing, in my high school yearbook, you know how you write notes, you know, there are notes, everybody has like a page and they write, oh, thank you guys, love you guys, blah, blah, blah. In my note in the high school yearbook, I wrote, you know, love you guys, blah, blah, blah. See you at the Met. I had in my head as a 16 or 17-year-old that I was going to sing at the Met. Because in my high school, I went to an arts high school. One of my closest friends, he and I would spend hours on the computer watching videos of singers, listening to singers, doing fake interviews as if we were
you were rehearsing for the interviews already.
Yes. But you know, just like practicing, we would sing our arias, we would be screaming arias at each other. So I think those times spent with like my best friend in high school and just like really taking ourselves very seriously as artists really helped give me the confidence to think that I could do this. You know, it's like an inner thing. And I feel like a lot of children and young people have that inner thing where they know, you know exactly what you're going to do. Sometimes you don't, you haven't really figured it out fully, but there's a knowing that we have. And thankfully I knew it and I trusted it. And I had a family around me who were like, go for it, you know? That's important. So I would say those times in high school when we were just taking ourselves way too seriously. And when I said, see you at the Met, when I read it, I was like, I said that? But yeah, I believe it.
You didn't remember.
I didn't even remember. Yes.
Fantastic. As you said, you knew what you wanted and you put it out there and you made it happen because it was something inside of you that just could not do that.
Exactly. Yes.
That's why you are so successful. Because I've been interviewing, you know, a few successful people this time, and I realized that is a common thread. They knew what they wanted. They might not have known how to get there, but they knew that where they wanted to get.
Yes.
And they worked for it.
Yes. And they believed it. Even when they felt like a lunatic, they believed it. You know, even now, if I feel like, why do I still think I can do this? There's something in me that says, you got to keep going. You have to keep doing it. You've got to pursue it like today is your last day on earth. You just have to do it. No.
And not everybody has that strength, because many people, they know what they want, but then they don't have the focus.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then also I realized I am lucky in that I have parents who were like, do what you want first. If it doesn't work out, then worry about it not working out. Follow the dream first. If it doesn't work, go back to school, go get a job, but follow the dream first. And I realized that's not everybody. Everybody doesn't have that kind of support. And I didn't know that until I met people who didn't have that. I was like, oh, I'm lucky. I'm blessed in that way.
So you thought all parents were like that?
I did. I thought, well, yeah, if every kid, if you
fantastic.
Normal. I was like, oh yeah, if you want to do something, your parents support you fully to do it. I was wrong.
No,
no,
that's not how it works.
No.
Most times that's not how it works. Find a job first, and then you can see if you can do something else. That's the usual thing. Anyway, in my generation,
Yes.
Yeah, that was that. But I mean, you put in all the work that was necessary to come to this point, and you're working like crazy now. So you're gonna get to the moon.
Oh, thank you.
I am so glad, and I'm so honored that you gave me this interview, because one day I'll be able to say, and I interviewed her so many years ago when I'll be an old lady. And say, I know her, I met her, I interviewed her. You'll be in my archives, because what I'm doing, these interviews that I do, this show, is because I want my people, because I'm Italian, and I want my people, and I also want white American to know how much excellence is in the Black culture.
Yes.
And because I live in Harlem and I've been so welcomed, and I feel much more home in Harlem than I feel in Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, I needed to give back. And you know why I got to Harlem?
Why?
Malcolm X.
Really?
I read his autobiography, and I was in my teens, I was in my teens, or maybe 10, something like that. And I said, I need to go to Harlem. I need to see the places he's talking about.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And then when I came to New York, very soon, when I came to New York, I met Ilyasa. And it was like, oh my God, the daughter of my hero, and I'm in Harlem. So it was like a full circle.
But see, you put that out there. You wanted to go to, as soon as you wanted to go to Harlem, you made it happen.
Yep. What's up next for you?
So I do Malcolm X. We open on Friday, November 3rd, which I'm so excited. And we finish at the end of the beginning of December 2nd. And then I go to Seattle and I do X there again. I reprise my roles there in Seattle. So we do that at the end of February into March. And then after that, I'm in Amsterdam at Dutch National Opera, and I sing a little Puccini this time. I leave English, and I do Il Tabarro in Amsterdam.
When are you coming to Italy?
I was supposed to go there during the pandemic, and then of course it was canceled. So I'm like, okay, it needs to happen again.
So if I'm there when you're there, I'm coming to see you.
Yes. Where do you go, or where do you live in Italy?
Milano.
Milano. Okay, so yeah. I'm putting that out there. La Scala's gonna happen.
We want to see you at the Scala.
In about 10 years.
So I'm excited to see you on Friday.
Yay.
Do this and
yay.
Thank
you.
I know that it's gonna be fantastic.
Thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you, because I know you had the dress rehearsal, so you gave me your time after a whole day of work. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for being us. And thank you to our viewers. See you next Saturday, 12:30. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, Bella.